Red food dyes. Well, you probably have already heard it, but finally, the FDA has decided to ban red dye number 3 from food products. Now, it supposedly causes cancer in rats, which is true. It, of course, has never been associated, according to the FDA, with causing cancer in humans. However, the FDA was worried enough about red dye number 3 that over 30 years ago, it banned red dye number 3 from use in cosmetics for humans. Now, think about the logic of that for just a moment. If the FDA was worried enough about red dye number 3 applied to your face or your skin 30 years ago, wouldn't it have made more sense to actually ban it from ingestion 30 years ago than just from cosmetics? But what the heck? Now it's banned from everything you eat as well. So why do these dyes exist? Well, I like to tell my patients, and I'm telling you, walk down the cereal aisle at the grocery store or the snack crunchy aisle in the grocery store, and you'll see some very interesting colors. Most of the colors advertising these products on the boxes, on the bags, are shades of reds, yellows, and oranges. Now, that's for a very good reason. Whether you know it or not, the only animals that have color vision are fruit and flower predators. And flowers and plants with fruits use these colors, particularly reds, oranges, and yellows, to, number one, get your attention, and number two, to tell you that this substance is ripe and loaded with sugar, and it's time for you to eat it. We're hardwired to look for those colors. So it's no surprise that most of the colors in the foods we eat, in the snacks we eat, are actually towards those colors. And that's where the idea of adding colors to food products came from. If it looks like a color your brain would be seeking out, you're more likely to eat that color and seek it out. So that's where all this came from. And quite frankly, it's no surprise to me that banning a color that you put on your face is a lot easier than banning a color that you eat, because you'll more likely eat those colors if they're in there. So we have to realize that a great number of these colors are actually made from petroleum products, like much of things we put on our face and even eat. Red dye number 3 is a petroleum-based product. Now, there's still a legal dye, red dye number 40, with, fun fact, it's banned in California, but it's legal in all the other states. Red dye number 40, even though it's legal in 49 states, still is a petroleum product as well. And hopefully, it's just a matter of time before this coloring agent is banned as well. So whenever you see dyes or colors added, the FDA requires that if you're using a GRAS product, generally recognized as safe, that's what GRAS stands for, they have to tell you on the label what dye that is. For instance, red dye number 3. So if you see a number, that only means that it's generally recognized as safe, but the odds are it's actually a petroleum-based product and probably not what you want to put in your mouth. Now, are there alternatives to this? Well, yes and no. There are natural food coloring, and those vary from what you might call natural. After all, Petroleum is natural. It's the product of plants dying and being compressed for millions of years, so I guess that's natural. But you certainly wouldn't want to ingest gasoline on a regular basis. And again, petroleum is petroleum. Gasoline is petroleum. There are natural food colorings that most of us are well aware of. We were talking on a podcast yesterday that have you ever actually tried to get pomegranate seeds out of a pomegranate? And it's fun, it's messy, and you'll end up with your hands stained really a brilliant red color. And so pomegranate is a natural source of a red coloring. Same way with beets. Beets are a very popular way of adding color. And so you may see beet juice, you may see beet juice extract, and this is once again a very natural way of adding a red color. Finally, you may see cherry juice or cherry extract. Once again, it's these red colors. Why don't people use this before? Because quite frankly, red dye number 40, red dye number 3 is cheap. And extracting beetroot extract or pomegranate juice extract or cherry juice extract is a whole lot more expensive. And bottom line is you got to use a lot of this to get the intense color that these companies want you to see. Because the more the intense color, the more likely you are, and more importantly, your kids are, to eat this stuff. So buyer beware. If there is an intense color in your kids' cereal, you probably don't want them to eat it. If there is an intense color in your snack, you probably don't want to eat it, but you gotta read the label. Finally, these colors, these artificial colors, these petroleum-based colors, have been associated not only with causing cancer in animals, but also with hyperactivity disorder in children. Now, it's hard to separate this out because, quite frankly, most of these dyes are in ultra-processed, high-sugar foods. So it's which came first, the chicken or the egg? Is it all that sugar that these dyes are associated with, or is it the dye that's causing the problem? And as a father of kids and now a grandfather of grandchildren, all of us know the ability of sugary foods to wire our children and make them hyperactive. And we also know the ability of when that wiring wears off, how they crash so completely. So this is an area where, yes, where there's smoke, there might be fire, but let's be aware that in the first place, the foods that these dyes in general are associated with are these high sugar, high ultra-processed foods we shouldn't be eating, and most particularly, we shouldn't have our kids eating. So that's the update on dyes in your food. And every time you see these reds, oranges, and yellows in your food, just remember that these wonderful companies are tricking you into hitting your ancient brain that this is a piece of ripe fruit and you ought to be seeking it out. More amazing episodes just like this one. Watch now. These are well-named forever chemicals because we still have no idea how long these things are going to last.